In this video, I want to talk about the tools that I use the most, or my top tools. This list is not really, it's not really a themed list. It's not like the tools you would use if you were starting out. It's not the tools you would use if you're fabricating. These are just simply the tools that I use all the time to build the type of cars that I build. Hopefully this is useful to you guys or whatever. So these are the tools that I use all the time. One of my top tools, my favorite things that I have in my shop is this tiny little Harbor Freight sandblaster. This thing is cheap. It's easy to use, but this thing is invaluable when it comes to putting old cars back together, or in my case, swapping engines that don't belong into a car. I use this thing all the time to clean up old brackets, old bolts and other fixtures, anything like that. A lot of that stuff is really hard to find. Some of it's reproduced, but not a lot of it. For example, the water pump pulley for the KA motor, not reproduced. So I had to find one used, and this thing is invaluable if you can clean up an old bracket and get it repainted and put back on the engine. Usually the OEM stuff fits so much better than anything aftermarket, and that way you don't have to hunt for as much hardware or fabricate as many things. So this is one of my favorite things, and if you think that this is outside your reach, I think these are like $90 brand new. I just have a shop vac going to, there's a little dust collector thing over there in the corner. The shop vac is just duct taped to the side of this thing, and then I have a cheap LED strip inside for lighting. That's all there is to it. Obviously you do need a decent sized air compressor, but this will run off of even a small air compressor as long as you don't blast too long. This thing gets me out of jams all the time. Another tool that I use all the time is a 4-inch grinder. Just like this, you get them all over. I actually have two of them. One that is always set up with a cutoff wheel, the other that is always set up with a flap wheel or a grinding disc or something like that. Because if you're even close to as good at welding as I am, you're gonna need both of these. Trust me. That's why you guys see me use so much black paint. Grinder and paint, right? Everybody knows that saying. I always have one of those set up to cut, one of those set up to grind. It saves you so much time having to change wheels back and forth from a cutoff wheel to a flap disc. When you know you're gonna need both of them anyway, just keep one of them set up with each disc on it all the time. Another tool that I don't think I can live without anymore is my MIG welder. This is a 180 HD weld pack. So this is a 220 powered MIG welder. I run it off of 25 thousandths wire. It makes it really, really easy, or easier I should say, to weld really thin sheet metal, as you guys have seen me do so much on the Datsun already. This is a tool that has endless uses. You can use it to make brackets, you can use it to make tools, you can use it to make repairs. One of the things I do with this welder all the time is if I snap off a bolt in an engine block or in a frame or a chassis or something like that, I can actually weld a nut to the stud or to the broken off bolt and I can back it out. It's a really common trick and it works really well. I would say I use my welder almost every weekend. It's a super handy tool and it can get you out of a ton of jams. Next thing I can think of that I use all the time is my bench vise. This is a cheap one from Harbor Freight. It's not the best vise, but it does the job for me. I have it mounted hardcore to my welding table that I made, but this thing, if you're gonna do any sort of automotive work, or if you're gonna do fabrication work or anything like that, having a quality vise is worth every penny. I will upgrade this someday, but it's worked for me for years. Another tool that I wish I would have bought a lot earlier in my automotive career, ratcheting wrenches. All you guys that, or gals or whoever that work on cars regularly will know these things are so nice. So if you are looking for tools to get started or to, start learning to take care of your own stuff, obviously get a set of high quality box end wrenches, but splurge a little bit and get the ratchet wrench version of each wrench that you have standard, because these get you out of so many jams and they can speed up the process drastically. I don't think I could live without this guy. This is my Harbor Freight 1/2-inch electric impact, cordless impact. This thing is just as strong or close to as strong as any pneumatic or air-powered impact. This tool saves me a ton of time. I do not have to run an air hose all over the shop, and I do not have to wait for the air compressor to pump up. This thing, if you're looking for a tool to get started working on cars, these are huge time savers and they make things a lot easier. Another tool, if you want to call it that I cannot live without is this Icon magnetic LED light. This is a USB-C rechargeable magnetic light. I don't know what the runtime in hours is, how long it'll stay on, but it lasts a very long time. It has 3 stages of brightness. It's got a pretty strong magnetic base. I use this thing every single day. It's great for working under cars. It's great for shoving under the hood of a car to get light down on the back of an engine. Overall, really good light. They are a little bit expensive at like 50 bucks a piece, but I believe it's a 2100 lumen light and it'll last for hours and hours and hours. If any of you are doing electrical troubleshooting, this tool is by far the most useful I have found. So this is a power probe. For those of you that don't know what this is, this device will hook up to the positive and negative on your battery. And then using this tool, you can actually apply 12 volts or ground and check voltage and continuity with this tool. So if you need to like test a circuit and you need to force 12 volts on it, you can push this button one way and it'll put 12 volts on the tip. On the other hand, if the circuit is ground triggered, you can touch the tip and trigger ground, see if that circuit worked. This thing saves a ton of time. The cables that run back to the battery are like 8 or 10 feet long, so you should be able to reach everywhere in the car. It has a beep function, it has a light on here, and it's also a multimeter to check the voltage. So this isn't a tool, but I think a quality rolling stool is invaluable in your garage or wherever it is that you're going to be working on cars. This one has a little bit of a backrest because sitting on a standard stool does make my back sore after so many hours. Now, I know what you're thinking. I have a lift. Why do I need a stool? Well, I do work on other cars if the lift is taken or whatever, right? I do use this thing all the time. This is a stool made by Gear Wrench. It has a bunch of little buckets on the bottom. It has a bunch of extra casters on it too, so this thing does not tip over like the cheaper Harbor Freight ones do. However, I had a Harbor Freight stool for years and it worked just fine. Probably close to the top of the list is these cribbing blocks. You can make these out of 2x4s. You can make them any size you want and any height you want. I should have made a set of these years ago. They are super versatile. You can set the car on them and it will sit at ride height. So if you need to set pinion angle or if you're checking your ride height, if you're adjusting coilover, suspension, anything like that, these work really good for that. It's a lot safer than a jack stand in my opinion, and they can hold a ton of weight. So I use these for all different kinds of things. They're easy to make. There's a ton of tutorials on YouTube. Get yourself a set or build yourself a set. They are so cool. I'm sure you may have noticed that the shop is kind of messy. There's stuff all over the place. Surprising. This place is normally super clean. I'm actually in the middle of a reorganization project. For those of you guys who are looking for a really cheap solution to like garage organization, file cabinets. These things are robust. They hold a ton of stuff and people practically, in fact, most cases, they give them away. I got this one here at our local resale store. I think this was $25. I have 2 more of them that I bought that same day on Marketplace for $20 a piece. Check this out. Every single drawer locks, and these are 28 inches deep. So this is my big bolt bucket. This is a slightly smaller bolt bucket. This thing weighs probably 30 or 40 pounds by itself. This one probably 50. And then I have a whole bunch of other bins of different fasteners, different hardware, just in this drawer. They come in all different kinds of colors. Most of them are either beige or black. Wouldn't take much to paint these to make them look nice, but in my shop, I think it kind of matches the rest of my my pallet racking here. Just a really cheap, effective way of getting your tools or materials or parts or anything like that stored away in a safe, rugged container. And I've even seen like Chris on No Nonsense Know-How, I've seen him actually stand on these drawers. So I've got these organized with all different kinds of stuff. Most of my electrical stuff is in here, heat shrink and heat gun. This one is more consumables. All of these little organizer packs that you get from Harbor Freight. O-rings, snap rings, body shims down there, vacuum connectors, padded clamps, cotter pins. All this stuff that takes up space on a shelf or on your bench somewhere can go in one of these drawers. The last hack that I want to talk about is these red stackable bins. You can get these pretty much anywhere. Harbor Freight, Menards, Home Depot, whatever. A lot of times they come in an assembly like this, where they hook in to a rack system like this. Well, you can buy these bins one at a time. Fill them up with stuff, stack them on top of each other inside your file cabinet. Just a couple things I wanted to share. And that concludes the list of the tools that I use the most, along with a couple other tips and tricks that I've learned along the way. If you guys like this video and you want to see more like this, let me know in the comments. If you have any questions or if there's anything else you'd like me to show or explain in the shop, feel free to ask. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.